In 2025, more than one-third of nonprofits closed their door. It's predicted that in 2026, even more nonprofits will close their doors, meaning that nonprofits that are going to survive have to rethink the lay of the land. And one of the lay of the land is understanding language, especially when it comes to federal grants. Actually, I would say grants in general. The whole language is changing. This presentation is going to talk about how do you position your mission for today's funders. Let's start by talking about the old language versus the new language. Okay, that being said, let's start with the outdated language, program and services. Now let's talk about the current language, system change and capacity building. Outdated, helping the community. Current language, community-led and co-design. Old language, at-risk population. New language, equity, belonging, and access. Old language, low-income residents. New language, outcomes and measurable impact. And finally, outputs, old language, outputs. New language, sustainability, and scalability. So let's talk about the 5 pillars of grant language, starting with equity and access. And when we're talking about access, equity and access, we're talking about removing systemic barriers, expanding access to opportunities, and closing the digital and economic gaps. Next, community-driven solutions. Residents co-design solutions. Community voice deserves priorities, and lived experience inform strategies. This is the language that you want to use when you talk about community-driven solution. Let's go to capacity building. Under that, we talk about organizational infrastructure, leadership development, and technology and data system. Again, these are the 5 new pillars grant language. Now, finally, measurable outcomes. Income increase 5%. Industry recognized credentials gain, and neighborhood indicators improve. And finally, the last pillar. Close, I'm sorry, cross-sector collaboration. What do funders expect now? What are they looking for? Well, they're looking for partnerships and shared outcomes. They're looking for collective impact framework. And lastly, they're looking for multi-stakeholders alignment. Now, let's talk, give an example of how to rewrite your language. And this is some examples. The old language is we provide training and support to help residents improve their lives. The new language is that we equip residents with the tools, technology, and economic pathway needed to build generational wealth and lead community-driven revitalization. Old language. Our program helps you stay out of trouble. New language. We create youth-centered environments that build skills, belonging, and economic mobility through mentorship, technology access, and leadership development. Old language. We help support, we support, we help nonprofits write grants. New language. We strengthen nonprofit capacity by building sustainable funding systems, data readiness, and strategic alignment with emerging federal and grant grant funders' priorities. So, what are three questions that every funders asks? Listen to this. If your proposal answers these, you're 90% ahead in your application. The first question they ask, benefits. And how do you know the community wants this? And when I say that, you have to really show that you had focus groups, you did surveys, you did interviews with the community that you talk about, and they want what you want. A lot of ways of doing this is making sure you go to those neighborhood groups and those other groups, organizations that represent that community, along with making sure you go to the residents themselves. So when we say who benefits, we're talking about demonstrate demonstrate resident voices, co-design, and lived experience. Number two, what what measurable changes will happen? This is very important because a lot of nonprofits do not really hit it on this particular area right here. So what do we mean by that? We mean focus on outcomes, not activities. Show impact with data and make sure they are sustainable changes that you're making in that individual life. And thirdly, how will this work continue after the grant ends? Demonstrate sustainability, scalability, scalability, and long-term vision. So, next steps. Implement this today. First, audit your materials with recurring proposals and website copy. I'm sorry, let me back up for that. Review current proposals and website copy. Identify outdated language and replace it with modern terms. So when you go to the website for that funder, look at what language they're using and make sure you use that language as well. So you definitely want to go to websites where the proposal or the RP is to make sure you cut and paste those modern terms that they're using if it's not the terms already in this presentation. Build your data story. Start collecting directional data to tie outcomes. You don't need to be you don't need perfection. Just measure outcome progress. How do you measure that progress? And how do you measure outcomes and results? Next, practice your pitch. Rewrite 3 times your description using a new language. And then have some conversation with your colleagues or somebody to see what they think and then refine it. And lastly, stay current. Monitor RFPs with targeted funders. Notice language patterns and integrate them into your proposal. We talked about that earlier when we said go to the website and cut and paste. So you're already positioned to win. You're already positioned to win. The work is cutting edge. Now make your language reflective. This is part of a larger workshop that we give called Mastering Funding and Program Design for Nonprofits and Social Entrepreneurs. If you want to learn or attend one of our many classes, and we give training classes all over the United States, and they are virtual classes. Our classes include, when we give classes, we normally have at least 24 different cities or that's attending or states that's attending our workshop. So we do have a national audience when it comes to nonprofits. If you do need to reach us and you want to learn about our programs, our upcoming programs, please, here's the data right here in front of you. You can reach us at our Tampa office, our Baltimore office, or you can email us at Center for Nonprofit and Community at gmail.com. Again, this workshop that we're about to put on is a really comprehensive workshop, and only a fraction of it was talked about today when it comes to the language. In general, our nonprofits go way more deeper. So if you want to learn about our upcoming workshop, be it grant writing, how to do a business plan, how to do strategic planning, um, how to put together a theory of change, a logic model, or any of those critical things that are needed in this environment. Let me say it again. In 2025, one third of nonprofits closed their doors. This year, in 2026, even more nonprofits will close their door. That's why workshops that we give are so critical, because it teaches you how to operate in the current environment. And more importantly, it teaches you how to put together social enterprises, earn income as part of your overall strategy. So you have the information. If you want to find anything about our upcoming classes, feel free to contact us. And that's the data right here. And I hope this presentation here, again, this is only probably 2% of our workshop. I hope this part of the presentation gets you to rethink if you're about to write a grant and understanding you have to change the language in order to fit the funders' um, the funders' anticipation or expectation.